You, Ed, for the amazing talk. And it's very interesting to have a voice from academics to show what we are having right now. Oh, just let me yes, and that's the panel. So thank you so much for the talk, and it's very interesting and entertaining. And I hope the panel coming next can be as entertaining as this talk you've given to us. So for today's panel, it will be very interesting in the positioning. Right after the academics' voice, we'll be having some cool discussions with industry experts, corporate leaders, and then we'll be having AI founders on the next panel, the second one. So for this panel here, we are having originally 3 guests, but unfortunately, Kirsty from Canva couldn't join us here today. We'll have Peter from Microsoft and Ran from AI Consulting Group to join us in the panel discussions. And please welcome them to the stage. Thank you. Also, I'll just need my timekeeper to sit in front as well, and so just to make sure we don't go too far. Hello? Oh, it works. It works, great. So thank you for the full house as well, and just a reminder, if anyone gets thirsty during the panels, there will be free drinks outside just where you registered. It's just outside there. And yep, I guess let's begin. Is that okay? Great photos, right?
Sure.
Yes, okay. So first of all, could you briefly introduce yourself, both of you, and share the part of your work that excites you the most at the moment, please?
Yeah, I can start. So my name's Ren. I run an AI consulting practice where we help companies, businesses to implement AI solutions. Prior to that, I used to work for Deloitte and NZ Bank, where we implement a lot of digital transformation projects. So the part that really excites me at the moment is actually to see how we can make real business value out of these amazing technologies. What are some of the things that businesses can do right now so they can unlock more productivity, serve more customers, or provide a better experience? That's the part that really excites me at the moment.
That's awesome, Ren. And I'm Peter Xing. I work at Microsoft, and I cover all the cloud and AI for higher education, TAFEs, and K-12 departments of education. And what really excites me is that seeing the empowerment that the students and the teachers and the staff, as well as the researchers, can have with AI and being able to do a lot more in the organizations, including the universities. I was previously covering the University of Melbourne as well, and it's great to see this Melbourne Connect platform, because I think more than ever, having the ability to get individuals building startups to accelerate all this adoption. The legacy systems that the larger organizations are is probably the biggest challenge in that adoption right now.
Thank you. I think you're definitely in the right spot at the right time now here at Melbourne Connect. And it's amazing, and we should definitely have some kind of building like this in Cambridge as well. But, that's not the story for today. And tell us a bit more about, how is your organization is currently using AI, and where do you see it evolving in just maybe, let's say, next 3 or 5 years? Does Peter want to go first?
Yeah, and I mean, contrary to what Ed was saying, I have to say something about Copilot, because it just comes in our Microsoft 365 offering. But I think, one point I did want to make, it's all about the diffusion of the technology. I've got a 5090 at home. I'm running the local models like Qwen, and I'm trying to get enough GPUs to run the larger models like Kimi K2, the DeepSeek and all those larger models. But at the end of the day, we find there's such a big gap between the experts and the early adopters versus just everyday people that are just trying to get by. I mean, they're all told to do more with less, including the people at Microsoft, because, not all of us are all technical. And by having a button that we could just press, like I want to set up a meeting in my Outlook calendar with someone based on these emails that have been going back and forth, clicking schedule with Copilot summarizes all the history of the discussion, the agenda it needs to talk about, and then switching it on during the meeting captures the notes and the actions that then drive those outcomes. So it actually increases a lot of our productivity. And so this is the only way I feel like I can survive and actually being more productive with less resourcing. So that's just one thing. But I think you might have all seen the equals Copilot in Excel. There's that new function, equals Copilot. I think that's really AGI at this rate, because having the ability to have the AIs generate all your sample data and just drag down, I think that diffusion in your everyday tools, they say they're going to replace Excel. They haven't done that in the last 20 years since I've been sort of in the industry, right? So this is how we actually get in the hands of everyday people and getting that familiar.
Yeah, just to add on to that, so I'll probably say, because we have been speaking with and working with a lot of businesses, large enterprises, small enterprises to implement AI. And I see there's actually two types of AI use. One is what we call personal productivity type of tools, like Copilot, ChatGPT, enterprise version, Gemini, all of those chatbot. We see that's a personal productivity tool where employees, people can just like write emails, have meeting summaries. Definitely a lot of use of that. And in addition to that, there's another type of application we see is enterprise productivity type of tools. To give you one example is we have a client who runs a couple of restaurants in New South Wales. And they have a phone number, and they got someone always need to answer the phone call. If there's a restaurant booking, maybe someone lost their hat, right? Or especially in a busy time where they're busy serving their customers, but they also need to manage the phone call because they don't want to miss a booking. And what we did is we helped them to develop a AI agent that can answer 100% of their phone calls, which means that anyone at any time call the restaurant, the AI can pick it up, answer questions, and make a booking, confirm like how many baby seats you need, do you need a window seat, etc. So AI can actually take over that entire process, so they can remove human 100% out of the loop. And that means they never miss a booking, number one, so they never miss a business. And secondly, it also means that they can free up the people so they can serve their, focus on people in the restaurant. They can serve them better. And lastly, also interesting is that what we found is out of all the phone calls that AI receive, 50% of them are not related to a booking. They're just random calls. That means, like maybe they have a car park, for example. Yeah, so that means, there's AI can handle all of that. So it free people from, have to answer those random calls. And lastly, there's also another interesting benefit we see, which was not expected. Because previously, when someone called the restaurant and want to say, I want a table for 10 people at this time, but they don't have that capacity, so they would say no and hang up. But now, because we have AI having all of those phone calls, it can analyze, it can pick up, okay, on Friday, you tend to have really large bookings at this time. Maybe you can rearrange your restaurant so you can actually cater for those large bookings at this time. So that's some additional data analytics and data value that you can get from having AI, taking over the process and capturing the data. So I would say that's a very typical example that we have seen where AI can add a huge value for businesses.
Yes, thank you very much. Expanding your story on how AI increased productivity or work efficiency in your aspects and in your areas. But here at the university, often we emphasize the idea of critical thinking and to think it from both sides. So what are some of the potential challenges or risks in terms of or trade-offs potentially when you have this increased efficiency but large use of AI in your work? And please share accordingly to your experience as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I can start. So definitely, on one hand, you have AI can do all of these amazing things, open up a lot of opportunities. But at the same time, there's an AI governance, there's a risk management that really need to come hand in hand. I remember that last year, I think it was Bunnings that got into trouble and got fined by the Privacy Commission because they have installed security cameras and using AI to identify the potential people on their a blacklist. And they were fined because, not because they cannot use facial recognition tool, but they're fined because they did not have a set of, did not carry out the privacy impact assessment. They did not have a set of, framework and tools and processes to monitor and manage the potential risks. So I would say, AI, even with Gen AI, as what we said earlier, it can always, you need a human to check the output a lot of times. So I definitely see AI, there's a huge, potential challenges, risks that it opens up, and it's really important to have a strong set of framework processes to, implement AI governance, at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. In the university space, and across all of education, really, I was just seeing a lot of bring your own AIs to schools. And so, the teachers and the academic staff are already dealing with these issues around potential data leakages and uploading of sensitive information, especially in the research space, which is why there is a burning platform for education. So that's why the universities are all building their own solutions. Now, they could start with Copilot, but they could actually, the scanning might actually not have the right data governance, because you could have things that are not permissioned properly that's shared across others in the organization unnecessarily. So that piece needs to be get done first. But a lot of the universities actually started with Azure AI because they can control which data sources get included in that initial chatbot or agent that they're building. We work with the University of Sydney initially with their Cogniti solution. So that's Professor Danny Liu, and that's been across over 100 organizations now with 100,000 users, because it was an educator built for other educators, and being able to communicate that and having IT on board to have that governance in place around what gets uploaded, connecting to their LMS tools like Moodle and Canva, Blackboard and D2L. These are sort of things that are easy to adopt, and it's actually a safe space to really collaborate. We've also worked across many of the other higher education and also TAFEs and K-12 government. In New South Wales, they have EduChat for all the year 10s and above, and then actually rolling it out across all students this year. And having that accessibility for the students to learn in a way that drives curiosity, not just gives them the answer. This is what a Socratic tutor is meant to be all about. And I think more and more we're going to need more students to actually come out of the workforce knowing what questions to ask the AIs rather than just knowing the answers to things.
Yes. Sorry, but just pretty selfish question out of the schedule, because my background is in education as well, and I'm really interested in how big corporates like Microsoft is working in education. Could you please tell us a bit more about the chatbot? I think it's government released chatbot from the NSW government. Can you tell us more about this program potentially?
Yeah, so the New South Wales EduChat, that's right. So that was built on the Azure platform using Azure OpenAI as the LLM behind that. And GPT-5 is pretty good. It's a lot more performant. They could have done a bigger model, but they're all about how many we can get into the hands as many as we can. But they did a lot of evaluations. They did sort of super important benchmarks and evaluations on the safety of it, because you're dealing with high school and also in middle school kids. And also, they had a really strong AI safety first government framework that they shaped for the New South Wales government, for the Department of Education. But yeah, having that, seeing I think initially they piloted over 50 schools, and they're just seeing how much it can help the teachers have that one-on-one relationship again with the kids, and not burdened by the need to create these, learning and assessment tools, and being able to have constantly answering to these homeworks and markings, but spending more on that, one-on-one student case. It's actually really translates to how the students then graduate into a TAFE or a university, because those same tools will be available in a university as well as when they enter the workforce. So it's sort of AI throughout the entire student life cycle.
Yes. Thank you very much. I guess we get back on track to the schedule. So, switching the gears slightly, because here there's a lot of, university students, there's a lot of researchers, and would you like to share some of the values you found in collaborating with universities or early stage startups, founders, or young talents in your work so far? And sorry, what makes these collaborations successful, if they are? Yes.
Right. Start from our own experience, because we run a consulting practice, and all of our team members are based in Australia. Actually, we are seeing a huge amount of talents from the young graduates. This generation of young talents that goes into the workforce, that comes to our consulting practice, they're just AI native. They don't need to learn about. They just just get on and roll with it. So we just even a lot of our experienced developers and engineers, they're learning from these young generation. And at the same time, in terms of the other part of the question is collaborating with early stage startups, researchers. Actually, ourselves, we are a bit like an incubator ourselves as well, because I think these days AI has empowered us to build something really fast. You can actually build up a product so much faster compared to, I'd say, 2 years ago, which means so many amazing ideas that can come to life really a lot easily, and we can start to validate, can go into the market a lot faster. So we're definitely seeing AI is really empowering the startup community and helping us to solve a lot of the pressing business problems that our clients are facing.
Yeah, and we're definitely sort of seeing where the startups are actually going to be eventually dominating the future industries, because, I mentioned the tech debt that a lot of these large organizations have, whether it's in health, whether it's in defense, even like a lot of the processes in place are so rigid that you almost need a startup to come up with a fresh and with an AI-first approach. And that's eventually, because the change management in those legacy organizations is going to be so hard to change, and people only learn so much, and they say, okay, it's my extractive time in the careers. So there's new startups actually bring in that fresh ideas and capture a lot of the value in the customers that go along with it. So we have Microsoft for Startups. There's a lot of credits that are available. We also have the Azure Marketplace. So that's where you could actually get a lot of the incentives as an independent software vendor. And so you can list your product on the marketplace, kind of like our app store. And it's the same thing with also the Copilot agent store as well. So there's you're able to publish your own GPTs in a sense, but in the Copilot chat app store. And so there's a lot of avenues where you can tap into those solutions. And we actually worked with the University of Sydney with Cogniti, almost like a startup, because they also got funding from Microsoft to build out their marketplace solution with a partner. And so that's how we actually seeing universities and non-traditional startup land to be able to actually become and commercialize their solutions into the marketplace.
Thank you. And another selfish question, but not as selfish as the last one, because we had 150 hackathon participants last week. This is for Ran, and last week, and they are all sort of innovators, entrepreneurs on the side, as of the competition. And it's just that we are really interested in how incubators like the AI consulting group is finding these talents, or how, what's the value that you guys look for in terms of selecting who you put into the incubator?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Because if you think about, your startup journey where, traditionally you got to, you come up with an MVP or come up with some ideas, you do some early stage testing, and then you build the MVP product, and then you go to market, and then you try to, get traction. So it's that loop, and we're seeing it accelerating in terms of, be able to build a prototype or build even a working product. You can actually do that in a few days compared to a few months in the past. So where the bottleneck is going to be is actually, I would say, validating the idea. How you can now come up with a product idea so quickly, but now the bottleneck is really how you're going to test it, validate it with the real businesses or real users. So I would say that your ability to be able to test your idea by going out to the world, connect with your users, connect with the potential clients or organizations that your product will be helpful. That ability to go out there, connect with them, prove out value, and get early traction. That's where the real force to move the dial.
Cool, thank you very much. And I guess a final question from me, and then we'll have a question from the audience. So what kinds of, similar to that question, slightly different, but what kind of talent or skills, let's say if you are recruiting for your team and what you are looking for, because there's a lot of undergrad students or people looking for jobs here as well, and this is really a question for them. So what kind of talents or skills that if you are recruiting, you'd be recruiting for your team in this era?
I mean, for me, what I'm seeing is that it's definitely around careers that have a curiosity and a propensity to act. And I feel like, a lot of people that, could be really good in their studies and do a lot of academic piece, but at the end of the day, when it comes to having a growth mindset and being curious around what questions to ask. I think those are the ones who will continue to stay abreast of all the latest and greatest, because AI is coming so fast. It's literally, it feels like there's a new model that's out every week. But it's also around then taking that knowledge and applying it to showcase what they can do with it. And so with Microsoft, we have GitHub, and we see actually the students that are most successful in their careers has actually already started building during the university days and also the academic days, and contributing code to existing projects to see how they work in a team with the help of AI, like GitHub Copilot, the Vibe Code, a lot of the things that we saw Ed talk about earlier, but also how they can actually prove the value that they have from their knowledge and applying into an industry. And I think industry knowledge is probably where a lot of that value will be, because you need to actually solve those business problems before sort of AI looks after everything for us, from our day-to-day lives to then also the problems that we're trying to solve here.
Yeah, I totally agree with having that curiosity and growth mindset is really, really key. And I think looking at the audience here, you've all have a curious mind because you've given up your afternoon and come here and then try to learn something about AI. So that's definitely a great thing to do. Throughout my career, I've consulted with really large corporates, and I would say consistently what I've seen are people who are open-minded. They have a growth mindset. They're always willing to learn whenever there's something new come up, or whenever there's a challenge, that they're facing at their job. They're always willing to open up their mind, try to learn from it, try to grow, and become, let's say 1% better every day. I think that mindset is absolutely key. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So growth mindset and building something, and I can't wait to give away a spoiler. So one of our challenges from the hackathon was actually from VC. They asked us to design, the participants to design a system of AI that can search for talent on places like GitHub, TikTok, Twitter, like the unusual spaces, as of LinkedIn, to find the talent. But I'll save that for later when the team comes to do the demo. But any questions from the audience for now? At the back? I'll pass you the microphone. I'll pass you the microphone.
Thanks for sharing. My question is, I want to follow up on AI governance. So since it's not everyone have open mind, they have a lot of concern. For organization, AI for business, I'm wondering if you can share more practical way, what we consider in governance, who or which department may be involved in this AI governance framework. Thank you.
Yeah, no, definitely it keeps a lot of IT people up at night. Because as soon as they say, I'm going to use AI in my workforce, and I'm going to scan all your documents and make that part of the search function of the AI chatbot, they freak out, because I think a lot of people have some bad experience with cybersecurity breaches and data leakage. So data loss prevention is a solution that we make sure that that's embedded before any of these production level AI happens. At Microsoft, we have Purview, but we also work with partners that do a lot of scanning of their documents. So think about if your OneDrive was shared with everyone here, right? You want to make sure that only those folders that you want publicly accessible is shared. And how do you know that you're sharing the right things in those folders? Well, you're going to make sure you can use AI to scan that as well, because firstly, you're not going to have the time to go through every single file to check that those are the sensitive items that you're happy to share publicly. So now AI is helping to enable the future of AI to apply in the production, to make sure they identify which ones might have personally identifiable information, your TFNs and your birth dates and things like that, as well as passwords and crypto key wallets and things like that. Be careful of those leaking those out. So yeah, that's sort of the primary objective there. Secondly, around AI governance is then the safety component too, or how do you make sure that, from 13 plus access, that's sort of making sure that the kids are actually dealing with things that they're mature enough to be able to have in the first place. So having a central IT around making sure you know who's using your AI solutions through Entra ID is how we do it. So role-based access controls, all those sort of things that sort of traditional IT would be really familiar with, has also been applied to AI as well.
And just to add on to that, so if you are looking to put together, say, a blueprint for your AI governance, I recommend a few places you can look into. One is Australian government has published a safe AI use guidelines. That is voluntary, but it was highly recommended for any businesses, organizations who want to start using AI. There's also the ethical principles that was published by Australian government. And on top of that, there's also international best practice called ISO 42001. So that's a set of international ISO standards for AI governance. It will serve as a good blueprint if you're looking to put together a framework.
Thank you very much for your time and sharing your insights with us. And I guess that's the content for the first panel. And do you guys mind standing up and take a picture, potentially? I'll put the microphone on this chair. I think there's cameramen everywhere. Okay. Thank you very much. Awesome. Thanks.